Howdy ho everyone and welcome aboard. Thank you for joining us for another weekly Sunday market update. It's great to have you on board. My name is Jeff Pine and I'm one of the senior traders at Actions to Wealth who bring you a weekly Sunday market update each and every Sunday. It's great to have you on board. As I said, wow, change of season tomorrow. We're almost there. End of the year, that is. Christmas. Not sure which one you celebrate. Or either has it been a good year, you don't want it to end? Has it been a bad year, you do? Maybe, maybe one of a bit of each way, maybe. We'll see. Anyways, if you're in the northern hemisphere, you'll be going into autumn, of course. Sorry, into winter, of course. And here in the southern hemisphere, we'll be going into summer as of tomorrow. If you are in the tropics, then you have my sympathy for it being so hot all the year round, but I hope you enjoy the change of season, whatever it brings to you. All right, let's get this show on the road, shall we? And see if we can bring something about here. I'll start by using the usual, which of course is a disclaimer. And what that means, of course, is if I say something that's that's not appropriate or turns out to be incorrect, it's not my fault. No, that's actually not, well, it probably is true. But we are not here to force you into anything or advise you to do anything. We're here, of course, to share our knowledge and our experiences with you. And I hope that comes across to you throughout this presentation. Just going to see if I can bring chat up so that you guys can actually ask me some questions in need. But what that sometimes means is I lose everything, and that appears to be the case. Chat, where is chat? There it is. Okay, got it. So, guys, if you want to ask me questions throughout the presentation, then by all means do so. I'm only too happy to answer them. And I may even throw some curly ones at you that you probably need explanation towards. But let's get on with it. You recall, I suppose, those of you who were here at my last presentation, which was in September, I think, late September, that I was talking to you about the big picture. And I want to expand on that a little bit today and see exactly how you can use that big picture to make some money, which is the whole idea, or how I make those decisions based on the big picture. I displayed two orders that I was going to place the following morning last time I presented this, and we'll recap those in a couple of minutes. But the trades were based primarily on the big picture charts, which of course is where I derive my directional biases. And today I want to demonstrate how that method, as I said, can be very, very powerful. The first order I placed was on oil versus the US dollar, or XTI USD, if you like, on the monthly chart. Now, I know probably most of you won't trade on monthly charts. I don't all the time, but when I see stuff that makes sense to me and it's not going to cost me too much to hold a position over time, then that's precisely what I do. And I did place that order on oil on the monthly chart. You can see where my entry was going to be, where my stop loss was going to be, and where I was going to move my stop loss once we'd hit a decent level. Well, how did that pan out? Well, still going. We haven't we haven't had a movement in our direction at this point. And whilst that's probably disappointing in many ways, it's not unusual, and it hasn't cost us anything at this point because we're obviously not triggered. But perhaps there's a better entry on the way, given that I've still got this. I'm not sure you can see my cursor. I better use a pointer of some kind. Laser pointer, that'll do. Not laser pointing. Maybe I have to do it somewhere else. Bear with me, guys. I'll be there. There it is. Laser pointer. Okay, so given my big picture is an ascending channel. We're still inside that channel, and currently we still have a higher low based on that channel. So I'm still expecting the price can go in this direction and a long way. And that, of course, is what interests me. If I get this right, then we can go a decent travel and therefore make some money. So that order, yeah, look, I'm still holding an order there, but I think there's probably going to be a better entry down here somewhere, providing that this holds. If it doesn't hold and we get a break and a lower low, then obviously all bets are off. But at the moment, that's still in a little bit of limbo. As I say, perhaps a better entry coming. The second order that I placed was on euro versus the US dollar. This was on the daily chart because I saw a setup there. Now, that setup for most of you won't be dreadfully obvious because I'm a bit of a counterintuitive type trader. I see this as a false break of this trend line, which was a breakout, a big reversal bar, which I call a game changer bar. Why a game changer bar? Because it's actually changing the game, if you like. We were going long and now we're going short. So therefore it's a game changer. Now, the criteria around this, which is important for this presentation, those of you who don't understand what I term a game changer or consider a game changer to be, is a candle, in this case, sometimes it's bars I use, but a candle whose high is higher than the previous candle and closes on or near its low. That is what I call a game changer. If you looked in the textbook, you'd probably find that that would be called a key reversal bar. Same criteria. Higher than the previous, closed on or near its low. Now this one here is completely out of context because I like to see them in a situation where, yes, we've had a rally. I like that part. But I also like to see that the big picture is telling me that we're going in the direction that the game changer told me. And off this chart, that is not the case because this is in a bullish mode. So bear that in mind as I go through the presentation. I'll explain to you a little bit further as to how they work. But that's what I saw. So we placed a sell order underneath here. I did say at the time there was an aggressive stop loss above this bar or the open of that bar or a conservative stop loss above the swing. Now that's important. Above the swing is, as it says there, the conservative way to trade it, but it's also the most reliable way to trade it. So unless you're an aggressive by nature person, as I am not, I'm more a conservative person, then stop loss belongs up here, not here. Anyway, that's entirely up to your risk profile, and my risk profile is very conservative. So we placed that order. How did it turn out? Well, there was the order. There was the aggressive stop loss. There was the conservative stop loss. Didn't get triggered until this bar down here. And if you'd used either of those stop losses, you wouldn't have been hit and you would have been in pretty good shape at this point in time. That's not the point of the exercise that I'm going to go through today, but it kind of gives you the outcome, if you like, of what the big picture was telling me. Now, we haven't discussed the big picture on euro versus the dollar yet, but let's get through there very, very shortly. But before we do, here's what you could have done had you placed that order. You could have seen a second game changer bar up here, which was now in context because you've got a lower low, a lower high, a second lower high, and now a game changer bar. Closed on or near its low, high was higher than the previous high. So you would have got in the trade before the initial entry. Then you had a break of the trend line. Then you created a new trend line when you went into consolidation here. And guess what happened? We had a rally. What's my criteria for context in the game changer? You need to have a rally. Then another game changer turned up, higher than the previous bar candle, sorry, and closed on or near its low. Now, in context, great sign, that one. That's what I like to see, these ones. It also rejected the breakout of the previous range here, and also rejected the trend line which had been put in place since we had the original one. So we've got a lot going on here, right? We've got lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high, game changer bar, retest of the trend line, rejection of the trend line, etc., etc., etc. So that's all looking absolutely perfect as it unfolds. Then we had another breakout to the downside. Then we had another trend line, or as I call them, trade lines, but at a very important place. You can see the monthly pivot sitting there. So it couldn't last above the trend line, came back below it, then it retested it at, well, you can see another pivot there. That's the daily pivot, monthly pivot. You get a reversal bar. There's no game changer bar here, but there is another entry there on the daily chart. So my point is, once you've got a directional bias and you see these things turning up in number, you get a fair idea of what's going to happen next. And that's the daily chart. What if you were to trade this on smaller time frames, like a lot of you people do, intraday time frames? Well, I'll tell you in a second. But before I do, here's where that trade came from. This is the US dollar index, or the dollar index as it's known. And you recall, if you were in the last presentation that I did, we were talking about how relevant Trump's first election win was back in 2016. That was where the election was. That's where he actually came into office. These candles, the the US dollar went down, 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 down as soon as Trump got into office. Now, there's reasons for that, obviously, that I won't necessarily go into, but a lot of it has to do with Trump doesn't like high interest rates on the US dollar. Let's just leave it at that. But once we had that second wave down, we went into a consolidation and we rallied. And something similar was going on over here. We had first wave down, retrace second wave down into consolidation, and then we were produced this beautiful double bottom sitting here on the bottom of an ascending channel. Go back to history. History tells us once that happens, okay, maybe we did have a channel here. I didn't even go into that area. But look what happened next. So I was considering that that may well happen again. And therefore, off a double bottom on a support level, congruent to history, maybe the US dollar was going to rally. Okay, it hasn't done so to a large degree, but it has. It's begun, right? That rally, perhaps this one here, has begun. We'll see. I'd love to see a lower high, a higher low in here at some stage to confirm that. But at this point in time, that seems to be underway. And that's why we've seen euro dollar come off. So this is a monthly chart, right? Big picture is telling me that that was high probability of happening. Therefore, I've got a bias, euro versus the US dollar, going in the opposite direction. And that's exactly what we saw here on the weekly chart. If you'll recall, I went through that at the time. So that's what's happened on the weekly chart on euro versus the dollar. And we've seen what can happen on the daily chart. But what can happen on the 4-hour chart is even more exciting. Here we go back to that area, that big reversal bar, or what do I call them? Game changer bars, right? The game changer bars, once again, have a high higher than the previous candle, and they close on or near their low. That's a little bit subjective, I know. The near part is, but visually, you've really got to say, okay, that's very near its low. So that's a game changer bar, qualifies, as does this one. So as soon as we saw that, we got the lower high on a game changer bar on the 4 hour chart. Now, where did we say we were going to put our stop losses, guys? Above the previous swing, which of course was the reversal bar. Had we done that, entry here, stop loss here, never, ever, 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 ever were you ever going to get stopped out, obviously in retrospect. So there's a nice entry on the 4 hour chart. And you could stay in that forever if you wanted to. I don't do such things, but look what happened. We got a rally. Then we got what? A game changer bar. Same bar as that, a little bit smaller, but same bar exactly. So you've got high that's higher than the previous bar. You've got a close on the low or near the low. This one bang on the low. You've had a rally. You're now in a downtrend. Got to take that trade. Ooh, where's the stop loss go? Previous swing high. This one here. So is your stop loss ever in threat? No, it's not, because we're now in a downtrend. We're doing okay. Had another rally, however. So we've got a little bit anxious here, maybe. That's okay. Our stop loss is here. Then we got what? Another game changer bar. So another potential entry. Stop loss where? Above the previous swing high. Now, I think that one, yes, it is a little bit higher than that. So your stop loss is going to be very, very tiny here. Wow, what a result if that was the case. Then you got another rally. You got what? Yes, another game changer bar. And here it is. Where's the stop loss go, guys? Above the previous swing high, which is here. Never got stopped out. Another rally. Another what? Game changer bar. You're going to get sick of hearing these game changer bars, because this chart is telling you that they work like crazy once you're in the right context, right? They work very, very well, but you've got to get your stop loss in the right place. So there's another game changer bar. Whoops, you're in trouble here. You're in trouble here. Oh, no, I'm not. My stop loss is up here. No problem. And look what turned up after another rally. Another game changer bar. Where's your stop loss going? Above the previous swing high. Not the one below it, but the one above it. So again, we've got a stop loss up here. How many times are we in this market, guys? Seriously. Another rally. Another key reversal bar or game changer bar, if you like. Stop loss up here this time. So risk is not huge. Look at the reward. Amazing. Again, rally. Another game changer bar. Okay, it's not red, doesn't matter. It closed near its low. It had its high higher than the previous bar. Swing above it is here. Stop loss is here. Hope you're getting the picture here, guys. This is very, very, very lucrative if you get it right. That one's not a game changer bar. Yes, there's a rally, but I don't think the high is higher than the previous. So we'll skip that one, although, once again, you would have got the same result had it been. But here you did. You got a game changer bar here. And I've marked that red because your swing high previous to that would be here and you'd be stopped out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 winners, 1 loser. How are we doing? Doing okay. Bit of a trend change here, but we got a game changer bar after a rally. Isn't that our criteria to go short in this context? Yes, it is. Where's our stop loss? The swing high prior to this, that is higher than that, is up here. So there's your swing, there's your stop loss. You don't get stopped out. And guess what turns up? Another game changer bar. Entry here, stop loss, same place. Down we go, down we go. Another rally, another game changer bar right here. we're in trouble. No, we're not. Our stop loss is here. No, it's not. It's actually here because that's the swing high prior. That's higher than this one. Then another one turns up. I think that is one. We'll call that one anyway. And so on and so forth. And then another one turns up after a rally. Entry underneath, stop loss above. So not there because that's not a swing high. That's a swing high. There's your stop loss. And so on and so forth. Are you getting the picture, guys? The big picture that we saw earlier, which was the dollar index, pardon me, was at a support level, a lot to do with Trump, in my mind, in my world anyway, because history just keeps on repeating itself. Everyone says this time it's different. It's never different. So we had that going for us. So we had a massive bearish outlook on euro versus the dollar because it's the flip side version of the dollar index, right? I hope I'm getting the picture through. It's the big picture that gave us the opportunity to get all of these potential entries and potential money-making machines in operation. Now, you may well have different methods of finding entries. Um, this is simply one. You know, there's thousands of ways to get in the market. This is simply one of them. But what I'm pointing out to you is not necessarily the game changers, but as you can see, they work pretty well. It's the big picture that gives you opportunities on the smaller time frames. So the monthly gave us an idea, the weekly gave us confirmation, the daily got us excited, and the 4 hours makes us money. You could go down to an hourly chart, a 30-minute chart. Not so sure about going any smaller than hourly, to be fair, because the noise starts to get in. But if you use a method like this where your stop loss is well and truly out of the way, then you're probably going to be okay. Guys, if you've got any questions around any of that, I'm more than happy to answer them. Before I go on to what I'm seeing this week. All's quiet. Okay. You're either completely confused, stunned, or okay with everything. Good. This week, what do I see as a big picture that we can then turn into something on a daily chart and then trade it all week on perhaps a 4 hour chart, perhaps an hourly chart? Well, here's what I see. This is Great Britain pound versus the Australian dollar. Now, this channel's not absolutely perfect because it doesn't have a low sitting here, but I like the way it shapes up because it's very, very similar to the top. And to me, that's a channel that is rising. The good part about this is the channel that is rising has had a reversal. That is a game changer bar in my world, completely out of context, as I said, because we're not yet proven to be in a downtrend. But I do like the shape here. Some people will call me reckless for saying that this, in my world, is a double top. That's a double top as far as I'm concerned. Therefore, I see the opportunity for the chart to go down. This channel confirms that in my mind, and therefore I'm looking for an opportunity to get short. This is the monthly chart. So again, this is the big picture. Then I flick to the weekly chart, which is showing me something that I like. Oh, have we seen this before, guys? Game changer bar. Again, out of context because we haven't yet turned the corner, but it's telling me that there's something afoot and something could happen here. We've got a lower high in place. Lower than that, we've now got a lower low in place. Another lower low. No, let me get that out. Another lower high, another lower low, another lower high, Another lower low. Is this the lower high that I hang my hat on? Well, look at the shape of it. What do we call that? Guys, what do we call that? Game changer bar, correct. No, nobody answered, but I'm assuming you all got it right. I've got a question. Does a long body and a game changer bar too count as a game long body? As long as it closes, the answer is as long as it closes on its low, if it's a game changer bar to the downside, or if we're going the opposite direction, say we're in a bull trend, right? This one here, a lower low than the previous candle and closed on or near its high. That's a big body or a big enough body, if you like. So the answer is yes, absolutely. Forget about, there's only two criteria. Forget about what color it is, forget about what, or how big it is. There's only the two criteria. In this case, the low has to be lower than the previous low, and the close has to be on or near its high. If we're going long, if we're going short, high has to be higher than the previous bar, and it has to close on or near its low. I've lost my gizmo pointer. Does that answer your question? EC, I don't know who asked the question, but I hope that answers your question because that's how I play it. Okay, very good. So here's where we are at the moment. Have we had something that agrees with our game changer bar? Oh, yes, we do. We've got all of those lower highs and lows, which means we're now in a downtrend. We've got a trend line that's been broken and retested, no close above it. We've got a range. I don't know if I did a daily chart on this, so I'll switch in a second. But we've got a range here. The previous range, right, has also been broken and retested and rejected with our game changer bar. That's why I'm bearish pound versus the Aussie. And going back to here, I'm bearish because we had a game changer bar to start with, and we're coming off the top of a descending channel, and we've had a double top in my world. Now, in most textbooks, you'll find a double top has to be exactly equal. That's not in my book. In my book, that's a double top. That's a top, prices come off. That's a top, prices come off. They're pretty close together. That'll do me as a double top. So I'm bearish pound versus the Aussie. That's my bias, right? Now I've got a reason to think that I can actually trade this because I've got a game changer bar after a rally, which is my criteria to trade. And I didn't do a daily chart on it, but it still gives you the idea that what I will do tomorrow morning, providing there's no big gap down or indeed up, I will look to place an order underneath that bar. Where will I put my stop loss? Anybody want to have a crack at that? I'm going to put my entry underneath that bar. Where am I going to put my stop loss? It's the last question I'm going to ask you, and then I'm going to go into what keeps me awake at night. Previous high. Yes, correct. Right there. My stop loss will go above here. 100%. Good answer, CW. Know why we've got initials and not names? CW. I think I know CW, but I won't take the punt. All right, so there you go. That's what I'm looking at this week, and that's where I'll be focused. This line here, where there was a lower low, has me a little bit concerned. So what I will do, if I'm fortunate enough to get in the trade and get to that level, I will look to change something, whether I actually take partial profit and get safe in the market, which is probably what I will do. So I'll take some profit here and move my stop loss potentially above that candle, the candle that I trade, so that if price does go bounce off here and we go back to trend, this trend, then I won't be losing. That would be my whole idea of the trade. Okay. So I'll make myself safe here. If we're right in the directional change that this gave us, that the weekly gave us, that the monthly gave us, then this should continue to go down. So that's where I'm at. I'm going to leave you guys with what keeps me awake at night. I started this last time I did a presentation and I was asked to do it again. So when I'm a little bit tired, I go to sleep very quickly. And sometimes I wake up in the morning or early at night, or so early in the morning, as anybody who's anywhere near my age and a male will know, you have to wake up at some time during the night, otherwise there'll be a problem. These are the things that will keep me awake. The first one, why is the fear of long words called hippopotamonstrophobia? Why on earth? How does that happen? So that keeps me awake at night. The second one that keeps me awake at night, why don't identical twins have the same fingerprints? How does that work? They're identical. Apparently not, because they'd have different fingerprints. And here's the clincher. The last one I'm going to give you today is how come a single horse, so one horse, can produce up to 24 horsepower? It's a fact. They're not making stuff up. This is all heavily researched. How come a single horse can produce up to 24 horsepower? There you go. I want the answers. I want the answers, but not right now. The longest word kills me. I can't say it. Clearly, I can't say it. Guys, that's it for this Sunday market update. I hope you've gleaned something from it. If only that single horses can produce 24 horsepower, then I've done my work. This will be, well, certainly my last Sunday market update for the year. So with that in mind, I would like to wish you guys a happy holiday season. And if you celebrate Christmas, then please do it safely, enjoy it, be with someone you love, be with your family. That'd be great. And I look forward to seeing you all in the new year when my next Sunday market update comes along. Have a wonderful break, everyone. Thank you, Sam, for, as always, looking after me. It's always a pleasure, and I look forward to seeing you in April. Was it May? Can't quite remember. We'll see you then. Have a great weekend. What's left of it, everyone.